If you constantly feel exhausted after a 10-minute conversation, you aren't broken. You walk into a room, say something you think is completely normal, and the entire atmosphere just freezes. You haven't done anything wrong. You just violently derailed their train of thought. This is the brutal physics of a gauge mismatch, a heavy rail mind attempting to operate on a light rail infrastructure. Sparks shower from the undercarriage. The system screams. This constant friction often explains the burnout you feel in ordinary social settings. You retreat into hyperindependence, not because you hate people, but because operating your heavy engine on their lightweight tracks is physically exhausting. The constant throttling of your own processing speed drains your battery to zero. You sit in your car for 20 minutes before going inside, just to let your engine cool down. You stare at the steering wheel, dreading the energy it takes to translate your thoughts into an acceptable, low-impact format. You are exhausted by the sheer inefficiency of pretending your machine is smaller than it is. I used to fake being less intelligent just to blend in with certain groups. Not to manipulate them, but to avoid being ostracized. Because when you operate at a different speed, your mere presence can unsettle the grid. Or maybe not the grid. Just the raw logistics of a high-capacity machine attempting to dock at a quiet local station. Some communication theories point to a fascinating friction point. Effective communication requires processing speeds to be within roughly 2 standard deviations, about 30 points of IQ. That is your track gauge. When you force a wide-gauge axle onto a narrow track, you get catastrophic metal fatigue. A 30-point gap creates this exact mechanical friction. When processing speeds differ too widely, the friction isn't just intellectual. It feels almost physical. Consider a Tuesday morning stand-up meeting. You sit at the edge of the table. You say absolutely nothing. You simply observe the data being presented. You track the flaws in the project timeline. You are allocating nearly all of your processing power to listening. Your focus is unbroken. You are entirely present, absorbing every metric without interrupting. Why does your quiet attempt to connect feel to them like an interrogation? To a consensus-driven environment accustomed to distracted, lower bandwidth interactions, that laser focus feels exposing. The intimidation factor is just the platform shaking under the unmasked weight of your attention. You don't have to say a word to rattle the sleepers. People pull back, looking at you like you just broke the rules of physics. Their defensive hostility isn't a personal attack on your character. It is the literal sound of their infrastructure buckling under the data transfer, which is an incredible amount of internal physics for a conversation about the weather. Which brings us to a massive logistical error. We think that correcting a minor detail is debugging the conversation. Reverse the variable. Imagine a crowded dinner table. The conversation is light, predictable. Then someone repeats a statistic about the economy that is mathematically false. A miscalculated variable throws off the conclusion. Your chest tightens. The inaccuracy feels like a splinter in your mind. You interject. You lay out the correct variables cleanly, precisely, without malice. You explain the progression step by step. The room goes dead silent. Forks clink against plates. The person looks down. You won the data point, but you are sitting in a room full of people entirely alone. And then the dinner ends. You drive home. You go to sleep. You are actively ripping up the railway sleepers. Human beings bond through a ritual of social grooming. A consensus-driven environment needs this agreement to feel secure, using consensus as a survival tool. The analytical mind naturally rejects this. It prioritizes facts. It demands precision. It views inaccuracy as a threat. But prioritizing raw accuracy over social agreement is a severe logistical failure. You are deliberately dismantling the entire rail network just to fix one bent spike. You win the argument, but you sever the connection. The track snaps. The cargo doesn't move. You leave the interaction factually correct, but completely isolated. You sacrifice the infrastructure for a single data point. The analytical mechanism protected your worldview then. Has it checked whether the threat of inaccuracy is still a danger to you now? Look at the raw logistics of human connection. Average social interaction relies on a specific protocol to establish safety. People use the weather. They use mundane, predictable chatter. That chatter is not a waste of time. It is a mechanical coupling buffer. By signaling predictability, it acts as a biological safety ping, proving to the nervous system the environment is secure. But you skip the weather. You drop a heavy conceptual payload right onto the track. When an analytical mind skips the local handshake protocol, it registers as a system error. You transferred high-speed data without verifying the connection. Small talk isn't an insult to your intelligence. It is a logistical maneuver. In a railway shunting yard, massive locomotives do not run at full capacity. They deliberately slow their engines. They deploy the coupling buffers. They temporarily match the local gauge to move cargo safely through the station. They do not do this because they are broken. They do this because it is how the system functions without tearing itself apart. You aren't masking your identity. You are executing a highly efficient transfer protocol. You are modulating your output to ensure the data arrives. You are protecting their infrastructure from the sheer density of your transmission. You did not choose to have a wide-gauge mind, but you are the one who can notice when to deploy the buffer. Balancing accuracy and comfort requires deliberate logistical empathy. It requires putting yourself in their shoes, recognizing their operational limits without judgment. If they operate at a higher capacity, you maintain a balanced attitude, absorbing data without defensiveness. If they do not, you actively avoid making them feel inferior. You do not crush their track just because you have the weight to do it. It is your responsibility to adjust your communication to maintain harmony. You are the one with the bandwidth to adapt. If you can analyze complex abstract systems, you can decode the mechanics of a Tuesday morning conversation. It is just another algorithm. Map it, run it, keep your engine intact. The friction isn't a flaw in your design. It is just the brutal reality of heavy machinery operating in a lightweight world. You can navigate any social station without dismantling your own engine. You just need the right buffer. I am not entirely sure if treating it like a shunting yard solves the underlying loneliness, but it stops the immediate bleeding. It preserves your energy for the tracks that can actually handle your speed. If there is someone in your life whose engine you actually understand, they will know this is for them. You will probably still feel the friction tomorrow. Modulating your engine to fit their tracks is always going to require effort. The gauge discrepancy does not disappear just because you map the logistics. But I keep wondering what would happen if you finally found a station built for your actual gauge. What does your engine sound like when it doesn't have to slow down?